I meant to start doing one of these before getting to nearly halfway through the month, but we're already nearly halfway through the month. So I'm gonna kind of start, and I'll keep going and updating and adding to this as we go. But we're gonna just kind of talk about the short stories I've been reading. Hello and welcome to my channel. This is going to be sort of a reading vlog, sort of an update on how Short Story September is going because it's not been the best start, and I'm still reading other things as well here too. But I thought this would be a good way to do it, and I was planning on starting. So we're going to kind of talk through what I've been reading, what I've been trying, and what we have from here. So I started off with because this is quite short. That's a random pickup from my library. This is The Fox's Tower and Other Tales by Yoon Ha Lee. And the writing here is really, really good. Like I liked the prose. This is like super, super short though. Like more like little like one pagers. It's pretty big print. Or little poems, or some that are kind of longer, but all very short. And this just felt like it was a little too much on the literary side for me, where it just like the points, instead of being like, oh hey, this is a story about this, it's just like something sort of vague happens and you're supposed to extrapolate a ton, and not usually my favorite thing. So this one, I read the first couple and I like the writing, but just wasn't for me, so kind of moved on from that one. So then I thought, hey, let's do one that I was pretty sure I was going to like, which was The Hidden Girl and Other Stories by Ken Liu. While I've not really liked Ken Liu's novels, I really liked The Paper Menagerie and that story and that collection, so this would work out good, and this is not going well either. This is just there's a I had kind of a mixed reaction to the start of it here, because I've done the first several stories here, and it ranged from kind of mixed to not liking it. And there was one that I liked, but with it, it just feels like with all of these stories, a lot of the themes being explored are very similar or the same from what I read in The Paper Menagerie, so it doesn't feel particularly new or fresh, or like I'm reading something different than what I've read. B, it seems like Ken Liu just goes from either like extreme emotional manipulation, trying to make you feel for what's going on with these extreme things that he's throwing at you, or straight up just like logic lecture type of things. And this happens several times throughout. Out of the stories that I read, my favorite one did both. But that's the thing, like it's not even a one or the other. It sometimes does both. But it's just like you feel like you're stopping to get lectured on something. And this happens a couple of times. But the one that sort of just made me really decide that I'm just probably going to put this down, and I don't know that I'm going to read any more Ken Liu, is the Byzantine Empathy. And this story starts with the shocking emotional manipulation. It's somebody in like VR experiencing this massacre and thing that's happening. It's terrible. And then it just devolves into a lecture on how cryptocurrency and blockchain works. And I just could not care less. And like I understand what it was trying to do, and like it did relate to this story, but Ken Liu just seems to have this need to lecture you and be like the smartest person and explain to you what he's trying to get at, or the like the elements in the story, and it just is not fun to read or enjoyable to read. And I feel like that's why his most well-known short story, The Paper Menagerie, is like 9 pages long. It's super short. It's just the straight emotional manipulation, don't get me wrong there, but if he goes too long, he just can't help himself, it seems. I don't know. Very disappointed. I thought this was going to be one of my highlights for the month because even though I was a little mixed of parts with the other collection, I thought there were some really standout ones here, and I have not enjoyed this at all so far. So I think what I'm going to do next is the Book of Dragons. This is a collection with a bunch of different authors. All kinds of ones that I've read and haven't read. I have my bookmark in here, but I haven't actually started this yet. I just picked it up, and I read the very first thing in here is like a little poem from Jane Yolen, and it's like just a tiny little pager. Most of them I think are actually stories. But so I read that, but I haven't continued yet. So I'm hoping here this with some variety and like just a bunch of different stuff, and dragons. I'm hoping this will work out. So next update, I'll be talking more about this one, and hopefully this is going better. I'm about to start Exhalation by Ted Chiang, which is another collection that was recommended by the person I was buddy reading The Hidden Girl with, Ben, Books with Genghis Khan. So I'm going to try that one out. And then I think, too, for the back half of the month, I have a couple of other things I planned to read, but I might just go with start going with the recommendations I got on the original video, because I've not had great results with the things that I picked out myself. So if that continues, I'll definitely try out some more of that stuff. So we'll go from there. But that's it for this part of the update. Well, we couldn't have had a much different time as I continued on, because I did end up putting down The Hidden Girl. I was not enjoying it at all, and so decided to pick up The Inheritance. This is a collection of short stories published under either Robin Hubbard or Megan Lindell. And immediately starting this with the very first story, like I should have known because it's Hobb, but just the immediately with the very first story, which I'm blanking on what it's called, A Touch of Lavender, immediately just emotionally wrecked. It was so good. It was nothing like what I was expecting, because it was like it was sci-fi technically, and just with a very different style than what I'm used to reading from really only reading Realm of the Elderlings. So it was amazing. I've read the next two, which also were super different than what I would have expected. The second one is sort of fantasy, sort of not, and then the third one also is just sort of more like speculative fiction, but a really wide variety of different types of stories, but good and engaging so far. I'm really really enjoying this one quite a lot more than I really, I guess, expected, just because I didn't know what to expect. And then I started, instead of Hidden Girl, Exhalation by Ted Chiang. I mentioned I was going to be starting this, and so I had started reading it. My library had the ebook, and then I happened to be at my library and saw that they had the physical book as well. So I've read the first one in here so far, which was sort of a done as like kind of a parable type of thing, with somebody telling the story of these different people's experience going through this like mirror that's a gate into the past or the future. And I thought it was really interesting with the way that that was written. And then the second one immediately is looking at like these robots and their story. And so again, really really different styled things, but both good so far, and I'm still on that one. So yeah, this is going much better. I'll talk more about these as I get a little bit further in, but thankfully we're ending like this first half of the month on a much more positive note, now that now that I've gotten there and had a little bit better of a time with it. So that's definitely definitely an improvement.